Now on CoastTV News.
Funding cuts impacting unaccompanied immigrant children.
This program is important.
How La Esperanza is responding. Fire department fallout. Court documents show what led up to 2 volunteer firefighters in Millville being arrested for a hate crime. Tariff price pinch.
We're going to have to pay the consumer.
From pineapples to grapes, new tariffs are hitting grocery aisles.
This is CoastTV News at 11.
Federal funding cuts hitting home. Good evening, I'm Brandon Ferguson. Welcome to CoastTV News at 11. We begin tonight with a change costing La Esperanza funding and some children opportunities. La Esperanza is a nonprofit organization which has been helping the immigrant community in Sussex County for almost 30 years. They had secured federal funding for a legal program aimed at unaccompanied immigrant children. Now that story has changed. Recent federal funding cuts are hitting the program hard, as Telemundo Delmarva and CoastTV News reporter Ana Sofia Roman shows us what these means to the kids that are on their own and how you can help.
La Esperanza currently has 60 cases of unaccompanied immigrant children that they are representing. Unaccompanied immigrant children are kids who come to the U.S. usually across the border, either alone or with someone who's not their parent. They are then placed with a sponsor somewhere in the country, often a relative. Brian Garcia is the acting executive director of La Esperanza and says, without the organization's support, it becomes much harder for children to find safety and stability in the U.S.
This program is important because it's taking down one of those barriers, right? The cost of legal services. These children are getting legal services completely free, and they're getting representation in court. So that means that we go to court with them. We're talking to the judge on their behalf, right, representing them.
Garcia says a lot of time, immigration cases within the court can take years to complete.
Even though we have 60 children, these are children that we may be representing and will need to represent over the next 4, 5, maybe even 6 years.
Garcia adds that not having the sufficient funding to cover the cost of representation might put children in a tough spot.
If they don't have anyone to support them to pay for that, they have to find ways to pay for it. And it may require them to go work, and to find work, if they don't have legal status, if they don't have work authorization, it puts them in a vulnerable position in that they may be using fake documents to do work that could be dangerous, or a work that could be very hard for a child.
With options for funding drying up, La Esperanza is hoping the community will come together to support those who they say need it the most. In Georgetown, Ana Sofia Roman, CoastTV News.
For those that would like to donate to this cause, La Esperanza says you can do that online or in person at their office in Georgetown. To find that link, visit our website, coasttvnews.com. Legislation allowing terminally ill patients in Delaware to end their lives through self-administered medication is heading to Governor Matt Meyer's desk. House Bill 140, sponsored by Senate Majority Leader Brian Townsend and Rep. Eric Morrison, passed the Senate today. It would give mentally capable adults with 6 months or less to live the option for medical aid in dying. The bill includes strict safeguards to ensure decisions are made voluntarily and with medical oversight. If signed, Delaware will become the 11th state to legalize the practice. Now to Millville. 2 volunteers were arrested for chasing a Millville fire employee around with a noose. And new tonight, we are learning more about what exactly was said at the Millville Volunteer Fire Company and how much this crime, which happened last year on Valentine's Day, came to light. As CoastTV News reporter Zakia Jennings shows us the exclusive details of this case.
These are the 2 men who were arrested on hate crime charges. Jay Droney and Jordan Hastings. According to court documents exclusively obtained by CoastTV, Droney approached the victim and was swinging a rope tied like a noose while the victim was grilling food and said, quote, "Come here, boy." Court documents say Droney chased the victim with the noose and was laughing while the victim ran away. According to court documents, after that, the victim says Droney has called him a racial slur multiple times and would talk about cotton fields in front of him. According to court documents, Jordan Hastings filmed the incident on Snapchat. A detective says when they interviewed Hastings, he said it was a joke and the rope was a fireman's knot. According to the detective, the video clearly showed Droney carrying a noose. Both men are now facing felony charges.
Both Droney and Hastings have had their memberships permanently revoked at the Millville Fire Department. And the fire department declined an interview today, but told us this is behavior of two rogue individuals and says this incident was dealt with within hours after fire officials were notified. And this brings us to our Coast TV News pool. We want to know, how should fire departments build trust? Let's take a look at the updated results from our 6 p.m. news hour. So far, 65% say stronger leadership, with 12% at more training and 12% at outside audits. If you haven't voted yet, you can still vote at coasttv.com or on our mobile app. Delaware is taking emergency response to the next level with new upgrades to its E911 system. Dispatchers can now send callers a link to access their camera with permission to stream live video, seeing what's happening in real time. The system also includes real-time text and translation in over 90 languages, helping bridging communication gaps in critical moments. Another tool is Z-Access that allows first responders to pinpoint not just your location, but also what floor you're on. Officials say these innovations are designed to save time when every second counts.
Typically in an emergent situation, people are really upset, they're not thinking or seeing clearly. With the ability for us to also tune in and be in a controlled environment, we can provide even more details or maybe recognize more surroundings that the caller cannot.
Some Delaware lawmakers want tougher penalties for those convicted of shootings. A bill introduced today would make it so shooting a gun at a dwelling place of worship, at a car or business, is a Class E felony. The proposal also has a clause that would prevent unnecessary stacking of charges. House Bill 123 has been assigned to the House Judiciary Committee in Delaware. We're now going to take a live look into Milford. We bring in our First Alert Chief Meteorologist Paul Williams to take a look at the weather. Good evening, Paul.
Oh, good evening to you, Brandon. And overall, we're still getting a chance to enjoy weather without the bothersome and blustery wind conditions. So it's going to allow us to enjoy the night without it feeling a bit cold or that wind chill factor. But this morning we started off a bit frosty at 34 degrees, not only in Georgetown, but also 35 degrees, in Georgetown and in Ocean City. And we are indeed at 51 degrees Indian River Inlet, 45 in Milton, 44 degrees currently for us actually in Georgetown. But the good news is our drought situation has turned a bit. For the first time since September 2024, we're no longer any kind of these categories, even including abnormally dry.
Tonight, District 20 Democrats held a social gathering in Lewis, but District 20 Representative Stell Parker Selby was not in attendance. Democrats at the gathering told Coast TV the only communication they've had with Selby is through text and email, and do not know the next time Selby will be at Legislative Hall. A letter from Selby was read at the meeting where the representative said she is listening to her physicians and she is doing, quote, fine. Her office is open for any communications at the time. DelDOT held a workshop this morning to discuss its latest plans for Route 16. Officials say the study aims to improve the road while making conditions safer for bicyclists and pedestrians. DelDOT says they're currently reviewing traffic data and modeling results, especially focusing on eastbound traffic patterns from Ellendale to Route 1, since they say that's where most of through traffic heads towards the beaches. Increased commercial development along the corridor is also one reason for the study, according to DelDOT.
That takes a lot of different data from lots of different groups that are making really educated guesses and estimates on where we think growth is going to happen and what pace we think growth is going to happen.
And DelDOT says a new traffic pattern at the intersection of Route 1 and Route 16 will begin April 21st. And as we continue to cover the impacts of tariffs on the cost of everything, we turn our attention today to groceries. 10% tariffs across the board are still in effect, and that's pushing up the price of some imported food. As CoastTV News reporter Emma Aiken shows us, some shoppers say they're paying more, while others say their grocery bill hasn't changed.
Shelves full of food, pineapple from Costa Rica, grapes from Mexico. Tariffs are pushing the price higher on lots of fruits and vegetables, among other things, and some shoppers are worried about the pinch in the pocketbook. Like C. Jones, who says he has to be more conservative with his spending now.
The tariffs is horrible. It's all about taxes. We're going to have to pay it to consumer.
While some shopper favorites like avocados from Mexico are currently exempt from U.S. tariffs under the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement, buyers say they're still seeing price hikes on other products. Some shoppers I spoke with tell me they're paying more for items like fruit trays, grapes, and basil. But others, like Marilyn Webb, say they're fine with tariffs and they're not spending more.
I think it should be fair. I think if they're charging us 20%, then it's only fair for us to charge them 20%.
Some feel the strain, while others see it as fair trade. In Lewis, Emma Aiken, Coast TV News.
California is fighting back against President Donald Trump's tariff authority. California Governor Gavin Newsom is set to file a lawsuit in federal court suing Trump over his use of emergency powers to unilaterally enact sweeping global tariffs. According to a news release from the California government, Newsom argues the tariffs hurt Californian families and businesses, citing a disrupted supply chain and inflated cost. U.S. retail sales surged last month. That latest report coming from the Commerce Department shows U.S. spending. Retailers rose 1.4% in March from February. That's the highest monthly gain since January 2023. Economists believe President Donald Trump's trade war has unsettled Americans in recent months, and it's having an effect on people's purchasing behavior.
Here's a look at your Bay forecast. 74 degrees for us on Friday, 84 on Saturday, and 73 and a bit cloudy for us on Easter. We'll have your exciting forecast for the weekend coming up.
From challenges to crowns, we'll show you the journey for one Delawarean who will represent the state in a national competition. That's up next. We'll be back in just 60 seconds.
Anytime you get the opportunity to represent the state you live in, it's an honor, and that's what the subject of this week's Coastal Connection is doing. Amy Simonson is a pageant queen, but her journey to the crown, it's a little bit different than most. The pageant world is both serious and competitive.
Congratulations!
But for Miss Wheelchair Delaware, Amy Simonson, her journey to the crown started with a laugh.
And I jokingly said to my mom, how cool would it be if I was Miss Wheelchair Delaware?
That one offhand comment led to a whole lot of work and eventually a title.
I filled out the 30-page application.
30 pages?
It was a lot, and it was a little overwhelming, but filled out the application, got it sent in, and now I have a crown.
But her journey's not over. Simonson has her eyes on the Miss Wheelchair USA pageant coming up in July, and she's got a message that really resonates.
My platform is Change the Face of Beauty. I'm a photographer who offers free photo shoots to families and individuals who have disabilities. And my whole purpose on it is to try and change how society views us, that we are more than our disabilities.
Simonson wasn't always bound by her chair. She has spinal bifida and tether cord syndrome that caused partial paralysis and ultimately led to a partial amputation when she was in high school. That's a tough pill for anybody to swallow, but Simonson manages with an incredibly positive outlook.
In my family, we believe, and I was raised, that you can either be miserable in your circumstances or you can make the best out of your situation.
Before a wheelchair became a key component of her life, Simonson was the kind of person that got involved, and that hasn't changed. She's an active church member and even teaches Sunday school.
Just having that impact on the kids and everything, and seeing that, having that childlike faith really kind of brought me through everything, and having a purpose bigger than myself. Because if I allowed myself to only worry about me, I'd have been miserable.
While Simonson has faith in her heart, she's also got competitive spirit in her soul. She's already connected with other women that will be at the national competition, but make no mistake, she wants to win it.
We jokingly said we'll be best friends up until the pageant, until competition time.
And in her mind, the best way to do that is to raise awareness of mobility aids that differently abled people require.
Well, if there's not a way for us to get up into a building, we can't go to that business. We want to live normal lives. And just raising that awareness and that education is really like how I plan on getting far into the competition.
No matter the outcome of the competition itself, Simonson feels like her platform is a picture-perfect way to fight for equity in a community she already belongs to.
Well, the winds have finally died down, giving us a break from the abrasiveness of that, and we're going to see the temperatures, or feel the temperatures, rise well above the 67-degree mark, which is the norm for this time of the year. Take a look. Our Irish Eyes camera in Lewis, we're holding at about a cool 49 degrees, but the winds have backed down. So with only 3-mile-per-hour winds, Lewis area, inland areas, it doesn't feel so bad. It feels like, well, feels like the 40s finally, right? We'll drop down to 46 with mostly clear skies. And as we take a look at the temperatures, we peruse what's happening throughout the entire county. We're at 51 degrees at Indian River Inlet as well as Ocean City. However, we're dropping down to 44 degrees in Milton as well as Georgetown, 41 degrees right now, Del Mar. Winds calm and gently, if blowing at all, out of the west-southwest. And it's kind of like real estate, location, location, location. Well, when it comes to winds, it's direction, direction, direction out of the west-southwest. So when it's coming out of the south, any kind of slant out of the south means it's a warm breeze instead of something that could be uncomfortable. So the drought is finally busted. We talked about that in our previous weather segment. After nearly 7 months, drought conditions are starting to subside a bit for us. Sunny skies will continue going into Friday. And then we're looking for an egg sighting Easter weekend, getting into the 80s along with that. A bit of alliteration, just so you'll know. So here's a look at the drought monitor. We've been as far as extreme drought, but we were at abnormally dry with our last check-in. Now we're down to nothing for the most part. Now there is an exception for a couple of our viewers, moderate to abnormally dry over near Cambridge. But aside from that, most of the Delmarva Peninsula is now recovering. Ironically, now we're going to have a stretch of time where we're not going to see a chance of rain. And even with that Monday chance of rain, we're looking at scattered best case scenario. The winds also aided in drying things out a bit for us, but they backed off tremendously. Now we're only at about 25-mile-per-hour winds. That's mainly along the beach areas and right along where the water's located. Overall, the cooler conditions and possibility of frost will stay actually over towards the Jersey area, and what rain is headed in our direction looks skittish at best. We're going to warm to 72 degrees by 4 o'clock tomorrow, but the winds are out of the south, even when they pick up at 15 to 17 miles per hour. Remember, direction, direction, direction. So we're going to warm to 72 in Georgetown. We should warm to 69 in Cambridge, and we will warm to 66 degrees in Berlin, 64 Chincoteague, 62 Ocean City. So the winds coming out of the south, that's going to be helpful. And we're going to clock into the 80s as we go into Saturday, and Sunday is going to stay relatively mild as well. So for tonight, 41, mainly clear and chill. 74 degrees for tomorrow. Fantastic, mostly sunny skies. Winds out of the south at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Then we'll have a whopping 84 degrees, summer-like, sun and clouds on Saturday. Finally, here's a look at your extended forecast. And we will have cloudy skies on Easter Sunday. And we could get a little bit of drizzle, but for the most part, we should still stay dry.
Thank you, Paul. In Fenwick Island, the town is looking at a New York court case to block the wind farm project off of our coast. The town is posting a recent decision against the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, stating the Trump administration is ordering the agency pause a project set to happen in that state after, quote, serious deficiencies in the Bureau's permitting process. The order also states that all of the agency's other projects, which includes plans on Delmarva, are under review for the same reason. The new and upgraded Rehoboth Beach Patrol Station is getting closer to opening their doors. This is what it looks like right now, and according to a presentation, one contract change was for pedestrian improvements.
It's a great addition, and it's not going anywhere because I've been watching it progress over the last several months, and that is as solid as they come. We got to depend on lifeguards, and they need a good place to chill out when they're not working. So
the current total for the project is just under $5.65 million. The completion date for the whole project is set for May 16th. Coming up, gas prices falling, what AAA says about this trend. And we've got highlights from the Philadelphia Phillies as they look to tie the series with the Giants.
Here's a look at your golf forecast. Looks like tomorrow's going to be an ideal situation going into your holiday weekend. In fact, fantastic. Mostly sunny and 74 degrees. Hopefully you'll get a hold of one as well.
Spring break travel season is winding down, and prices at the pump, well, they're coming down too. Gas prices have decreased at 5 cents since last week, and according to AAA, the national average price for a gallon of regular gas was about $3.16 as of today. The falling cost of fuel is being driven by decreased demand. Additionally, crude oil prices are as low as they've been in a few years, meaning motorists could continue to pay less for gas as we get closer to summer. And house hunters, you're going to have to pinch a few pennies. The average rate for a standard 30-year fixed mortgage was 6.83% this week. That's up a little more than 0.2 of a point, and it marks the largest single week rate hike in roughly a year. Analysts say the Trump administration's tariffs and trade war with China resulted in a recent sell-off of U.S. bonds. Despite the sharp increase, the average rate for a 30-year fixed mortgage is still below what it was at this time last year. And if you're planning on buying a Ford, you may want to do it sooner rather than later. The automaker says the Trump administration's tariffs are expected to result in higher car prices. President Trump's 25% tariffs on imported vehicles went into effect 2 weeks ago, and Ford officials say if the tariffs remain in place, their vehicles may become more expensive by June, adding they'll be even more costly if the White House decides to also place tariffs on individual car parts. Analysts say the tariffs will not only affect car prices, they'll also drop everything in car inventory.
Delmarva Sports Network from the Wawa Studios.
Good evening, sports fans. The Philadelphia Phillies look for a series tie, but first they have to take care of the San Francisco Giants. We start things off with the Giants. Matt Chapman lines it to right field. That brings in the first run for San Francisco. 1-0 in the top of the first, but then it would be the Philadelphia Phillies' turn. Bases are loaded in the bottom of the first. It would be Kyle Schwarber up in the batter's box. This bouncer gets through the hole. 2 runs would come in to score. The Phillies go ahead at 2-1. Still in the bottom of the first, the Phillies continue to make some noise, and the crowd absolutely loving it. Nick Castellanos doing his thing with runners at the corners. Bryce Harper would come in to score. Phillies ahead by 2 runs, and the Powder Blues a good luck charm so far tonight. Philadelphia up now 4-1. Alec Boehm out to center field. It's off the glove, and it would be an RBI triple for Alec Boehm. It's now 5-1, but the Giants unfazed. Chapman, the man of the hour, cutting the deficit with this bomb. 5-3 ball game in the top of the 6th. San Fran would continue to cut the deficit here. Phillies, though, coming out on top in this contest, 6-4. That'll for sports. Have a great night, everybody.
A longtime Salisbury resident is saying goodbye. The Salisbury Zoo's female Andine bear, Chaska, is moving to the Alexandria Zoo in Louisiana next month. She came to the zoo in 2013 and gave birth to 4 cubs. A special celebration to honor Chaska is planned for April 26th at the Salisbury Zoo. And you can keep cheering up with our Friday newsletter, a weekly dose of local good news from CoastTV. It's full of features, cool things to do each weekend, and more. You can sign up now for our Feel Good Friday newsletter at coasttv.com/sign up. And you can start your Easter celebration with our 2025 services. They begin at 7 a.m. on Coast Country, 9:30 a.m. on the Delmarva Sports Network, and 10:30 a.m. here on Coast TV.
We'll take a look at our umbrella giveaway winner. It's Joseph Bianca of Bishopville. Congratulations, Joseph, courtesy of Paul Davis Restoration and Home Remodeling. You can keep up with your forecast by calling our weather line. Your forecast is just a call away, sponsored by the law offices of Brockstead, Mandalas, Federico. The number to call is 443-880-9100. Finally, here's a look at your exclusive 10-day forecast. 74 degrees for the high on Friday, 84 for the high on Saturday. On Easter, we're expecting mostly cloudy skies and 73 degrees, and we could get a little drizzle and light rain, but for the most part, it should not be a rained out situation. Monday, 66, will go into the 70s for the next few days after that, and we should stay pretty close to the norm, which is 67 degrees for this time of the year. Don't forget, Tuesday is going to be Earth Day.
Thank you, Paul, and thanks for joining us here for Coast TV News at 11. For more news and local weather, download our Coast TV News app. The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon is up next, and we'll see you tomorrow for Coast TV News Today at 5 a.m. Have a great night.